Guys, welcome back to another Grow Your BNB video. Now today, firstly, the sunset's looking incredible at home. And in this video, it's been a while since I've done a rent-to-rent service accommodation video based on how to actually acquire those deals, what are the right things and the wrong things to say. And obviously I've worked with a lot of clients, my past of owning a estate agency, letting agency, and I understand this exact flow, right? I get a lot of people asking me, Piers, how do I do it? And I give them loads of tips, and especially those things are not covered on your mentorship. I even had somebody who couldn't make phone calls to letting agents because A, they were working all the time, they were busy, so we used a technique just by following up on emails, and eventually he's about to land a deal. So for me, this video, I want to make sure that you understand there's different ways to deal with letting agencies and landlords to acquire your first or grow your rent-to-rent service accommodation business. Now, over the last 7 years, for me, when people are getting deals, they're always firstly worrying about making phone calls. Secondly, they're worried about what is a good deal and what's a bad deal. Thirdly, they're worried about, is this deal going to work? And then what kind of occupancy rate, nightly rate can I charge? And today, for me, I think when you're approaching a landlord, you're thinking, or especially with letting agents, actually, when you're thinking, actually, how do I make sure that I go and smash this process? Hey, now I was thinking about how I can help you guys thinking a framework that will really lead you guys to think about this in the potential way that every year, every time you're thinking about a potential opportunity to make a phone call or speak to a landlord, I want you to think about the word lead. Now, what lead stands for is L, locate high potential properties, E, educate landlord and letting agents, A, assess the property potential, and D, deliver a professional proposal or a pitch. So now this framework is here to lead you to acquire your first or grow your property, and I thought about different ways where I can help my clients in the same format, and we came up with what we call a lead. A lead format will go into 4 different steps, and as long as you do this in a step-by-step process, you are pretty much acquiring this property based on different behaviors that a lot of operators are not doing right now, but also the habit that you're creating within your workflow that's going to help you say, okay, we're missing opportunity here, we've gone in here, we've delivered that, we've actually missed an opportunity. So it really gives you that framework to follow. So what I'm going to call this is lead. Now, how lead works is we think about L first. L, locate high potential properties. E, educate landlord and letting agents. A, assess the property potentials. D, deliver a professional pitch. So looking at L, where we talk about locating high potential property deals, I think for me, it's always been having a right due diligence. And for us, I've always said to my client, you need 2 hours of deal qualifying. And that means you've got to look at property, you've got to look at the potential, and also you've got to invest on Airbnb and booking.com to think about guest behaviors. Because one of the things a lot of operators forget when you're looking to get your first deal or your next deal is you're thinking about different types of guest behaviors, right? So you've got contractors, you've got relocation, you've got insurance clients, you've got business stay, you've got university students, emergency accommodation, you've got loads of guest behaviors, you've got leisure stays. You need to understand that investment property that you're going to go through. What are the list of clients, and how well are you making sure that it's got a high potential of that property getting booked? Now, E, like educating the landlord and letting agent, it's been my favorite part of all time, because I've always said, being a letting agent and estate agent myself, at that time when a lot of people approached me, I had not a lot of knowledge about rent to rent, and it was always a challenge to speak to those people. But being an independent agent, I was always open to have those conversations with people, but a lot of people were struggling to get their first deal. And I'm going back to 2018 at that time. And even till date, I realized that if you learn to educate landlord and letting agent through your kind of workflow and your framework, that's going to allow you to make them understand they're okay to give their property to you. So i.e., you can talk about, hey, for a letting agent, it's a company let, but it's company let. Their thinking is it's a company let, a company owns it, there's company let for service accommodation, right? So having that word kind of when you pitch it saying, hey, would the landlord be open for company let service accommodation? Then the word is company let, which is their term, service accommodation is your term, and you're literally open and upfront about educating them about this topic. So I think that's so so important, especially going into next year. Think about 10 things you can educate landlords and letting agents while you're delivering your service. Assessing the property potential. For me, every time when I speak to my clients, I'm like, when you got this property, did you walk in like a guest would? And were you thinking about where you're going to put the key box? Were you thinking about how the parking would work? And eventually till date today, for my new clients, I'm like, if you don't have a walkthrough property video, you need to make it now, because a customer will find it so easy after let's say they got a check-in detail. Here is how you get to our video. Here is how you get to our property. Watch this video. They're literally going to do that. So for you, there's a huge opportunity to make it better and flow it better by assessing the property now. So when you do go and set it up, A, you're going to have good speed, and B, you're going to make sure that you deliver that within that first 7 days. Because if you don't, you're going to end up losing rent, and you're going to end up having to pay rent without making any money. Now, lastly, delivering a professional pitch. For me, that is probably the most important workflow on this process, because you've done most of the part. And when you're actually offering, do not offer on a phone call. Any new clients I work with, and if they're looking to scale, I always like to ask them, oh, by the way, how did you put your offer forward? And they're like, oh, Piers, I said them over the phone. And I'm like, okay, well, at that point, you've not had a conversation around, there's clause that needs to be changed on the contract. There's break clause that you want to put in. There might be stuff that you want to be removed. The reality here is, by being able to send that offer on an email, you're not only thinking about protecting yourself now, but you're also thinking about protecting yourself and your pitch that you're going to say. Look, when you're talking to somebody on a phone call and you've offered them, you still haven't given them all the services that you'd like them to be seen, right? And also sometimes when you're pitching it, you also want to pitch it to the landlord as well as the letting agent, and they're two different entities. The value that a letting agent will feel is completely different to a value a landlord will feel. So you want to be able to put that on an email. So I suggest you write a solid template now after this call that you believe. Things like offer, how much you're going to offer, break clause, what's the benefit, letting agent, we're going to look after the property so you don't have to worry about it, landlord, we have professional cleaners, so in 2 years time your property is going to be in the same exact standard. Because so you've got so many things you can talk about, but again, it's going back to making sure you deliver a professional pitch. So guys, I hope you enjoyed another Grow Your B&B video, and I thought it's been a while since I talked about rent-to-rent service accommodation in terms of acquiring deal. Obviously my background, my letting agency I had about 7 years ago was everything to do with acquiring deal, giving deals to people. For me, I think being in that position, understanding how it could work really effectively on the way I saw people approaching me and the way I educated people, it's a win-win situation. But the most important thing is for you to understand there is a deal, and make sure you follow the same framework again and again to make sure you create the most successful system and framework for your business. So guys, thank you so much for watching another Grow Your B&B video, and please make sure you hit that like, subscribe and share, and I'll be back